Knox Country
Podcast Edition.
I've always been around great songwriters and artists my whole life. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Jason Aldean, and you are listening to my boy Michael Knox on Knox Country
Podcast.
Welcome to the Knox Country Syndicated Radio Show podcast. I'm here with Nicolle Galyon, award-winning singer-songwriter, and working in the production world these days.
Yeah, I guess by accident.
Well, but you met your artist, I'll let you say who she is, on The Voice from 2012.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had been, I signed to Warner in 2007, my first publishing deal, and about 3 or 4 years into my publishing deal, nothing was happening. I'd written a gazillion songs, and a lot of A&R, we would get feedback, BJ, my song plugger, would come back and say, oh yeah, well, they said, that sounds like a Nicolle song. We love that, but that sounds like a Nicolle song. And so we kept getting this feedback that maybe you should just make a record yourself because nothing was happening. And so I spent a year or two really kind of experimenting with being an artist. I put a band together. I tried to just conceptualize a record and what I would be if I was an artist. And in that time, I got referred to try out for The Voice. This is a short version of the story, but basically I had someone in the music business sit me down and say, you're not an artist. This is never going to happen for you. And literally the next day I got this call from The Voice.
Wow.
And I was like, well, I don't know. That's just my personality is this is trial by fire. I just need to go and find out if this is in me or not. And I didn't feel like it was an accident that those two things happened so closely to each other because I hate performing. It's my least favorite thing in the world. I love to create, but I felt like if I could go and do that I would probably find out if I had what it takes. Didn't make it very far on the show, but I did meet a girl named Rachel Woodward who ended up being Raylyn and
Team Blake.
Like I said, I didn't make it very far, but I still spent a lot of time out there. It was the most time I had taken off from writing. In the first 5 years I'd had a publishing deal, I was out there probably for a couple months, off and on. And that Voice didn't pan out, but The Voice is kind of like the butterfly effect in my story, because if you take The Voice away, nothing, it seems like all the stuff that has happened for me as a songwriter wouldn't have happened, because when I came back, my career just happened,
Because The Voice, right after that happened, I remember it was just an explosion.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about you. Everybody was loving your songs. You were getting cuts. And then you moved into being one of the first female kind of producers in town to kind of break that mold. And that's when I heard from you when you came. I didn't know you were on The Voice, to be honest with you.
Because I was barely on there. If you blinked.
What do you think happened? What do you think? Did you get sort of test that? Did it give you confidence, or did you say, okay, I don't want to be an artist, but I want to be a songwriter. I want to create and maybe help other artists. What happened in that time?
I have a couple theories. One of them is simple, is just that I had been in the grind of songwriting for so many years that writing 2 songs a day with anybody that would write with me, that my blue collar Kansas raisin was well, if it's not working, just go harder, harder, try harder, work harder. And I think that was the first time that I stepped back for that period of time and didn't write a song. And I think there was not only I needed that break, but also it gave me a minute to really explore, kind of look at myself and go, who are you? Is this really what you want to be doing? Also, my second theory is that what they always say, you may not always know what you're supposed to be doing, but you'll find out what you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And that's expedites the process. And I think going out and doing The Voice and being around 100 other people who would have given their right arm to be on The Voice, whereas I was kind of I'm just kind of here because I feel
where you want to see.
I kind of just trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. Really made it clear to me that I was really a songwriter. And then the third thing is that I think it was so unnatural for me that when I came back to Nashville, I was God, that was the bravest thing I've ever done and the scariest thing I've ever done. Mainly because I was afraid for the narrative to be written about me on the show. I was married, I've been married to Rodney Clawson for 11 years, but at the time we were I think we'd been married like 4 or 5 years, and he was like in the middle of a crazy run as a songwriter, and I really didn't want to be cast on that show as like the girl who's living in her husband's shadow and
Rodney's wife.
Mm-hmm. And so I kept it a secret when I was there. No one on the show knew that I was married to him or knew anything about that. But the stress of that was really exhausting, and I was really scared that was, because when you go do a show like that, you don't have control of what the narrative is. So I came back and I was like, oh man, I don't have to be on live TV and try to play this. All I have to do is write a song every day again. It was just like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need to be doing with my life. But I have no explanation as to why the success happened. It just was such a pivot for me to do the show.
So you get back from the show, and all that's in 2012, but 2014 was or I guess they cut it in 2013. That was your first number one with Keith Urban, Miranda Lambert, right? A song called We Were Us, which also won an award too, for what collaboration of the year.
Yeah.
So when that happened, you had to feel like, hey man, I belong here. This is, that reboot had to have made sense then.
Yeah. The crazy part about 2013 for me was that was the year that we had a baby. And at the point that we decided, let's do this, let's get pregnant, I still had no success as a songwriter. And so I really entered into becoming a mom as, okay, if I get this baby in my arms, and, it might not make sense for me to keep writing songs, because I can at least look in the mirror and say, I gave it a good run. I gave it all I had. But literally within like a month or two of having our daughter, everything started working. Like my career was born at the same time my kid was born. So then again, it didn't feel like an accident. I was like, okay, I think this is just the way that this is going to be.
Well, who was your writing crew? I mean, who did you write that one with?
I wrote We Were Us with Jimmy Robbins and John Knight. And I think we'd probably written that while I was pregnant. And a lot of songs we joke about having baby karma. Yeah, a lot of songs that went on to like get cut for me were written while I was pregnant. Both times. It's kind of weird. Rodney's always looking at me like, well, when things slow down, maybe we should just have another kid to keep this going. I was like, easy for you to say.
Just come on, spit them out.
Yeah.
So now that same year, Automatic, Miranda Lambert, that's I know people hear me say this a lot, but that's my favorite Miranda song. Automatic. That genuinely is. I cranked that at home. But so that was written the same time. Who'd you write that one with?
I wrote that with Miranda and Natalie Hemby. That was a crazy situation because that was truly within. Like I had told my publisher when I had my baby, I was like, I'm going to probably take a couple months off, at least 2 or 3 months. And why shouldn't I? Nothing's happening. And like 3 or 4 weeks after I had her, they called and they were like, can you write with Miranda? And I'd never written with her. And I was like, yes, but really? Now? Okay, great. Where has this been the last 10 years that I've been in town?
Have you met her before?
Yeah, I had met her, and I had met her through The Voice. That was part of the butterfly effect I kind of talked about, was that not only did I get to meet her, but I was writing songs with Raylan, who was at that time a very new, kind of inexperienced writer in Nashville. And so she was playing all the songs that she was writing for Miranda. And I think Miranda was like, who are you writing a lot of these with? And she just kept hearing my name. And she was, I think, really liked what Ray was doing. And so that ended up probably being more of a thing for me than even for Ray. I mean, she was like, okay. I mean, then I got to write with her, and we wrote Automatic. So the day that we wrote that, it was me and Miranda and Natalie, and we wrote a song called Platinum and Automatic in the same day. And that was the only time that we wrote, the three of us, for the record. And so that was a very good day. Again, baby karma.
I was about to say, you need to, come on, girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a real thing.
But Automatic won Song of the Year, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember I was at the awards when she played it. I just love the vibe of that entire song, the groove. It's this odd kind of thing, and it's such a cool thing. And that's what started attracting me to Miranda, was actually that song. So I'm a huge fan of Automatic. But that also was on her Grammy-winning album. Mm-hmm. But, I think you had like 5 cuts on that record. Is that correct?
Yeah, I remember I like one of the goals that I had written down and prayed about was that I just wanted a Miranda cut. That just felt like something to like keep my eye on. And Natalie Hemby, so I ended up with 5 on the record. And that was one of those things that just, as you know, like really what it does for you as a songwriter, whether those songs are singles or not. If you hear that somebody got 5 songs on any record, even if it's a new artist, you're just like,
that's huge.
Wow, what is that? And so I was just excited. I was like over the moon about the cuts, and then found out that we had the single, and we never made it. We never demoed Automatic. So pretty much when I heard Automatic for the first time, fully produced, they had already said it's the single. We got a link. I got to hear it like the night before it came out. It was truly like that songwriter experience that you pray to have. There was no, it truly was like opening a gift on Christmas morning, because we had no idea what it was going to sound like, and they just nailed everything about it. And I remember I played it for Rodney. They sent us like a link, a label link or something, and I played it for him on my laptop on the really crappy speakers in the kitchen, and he, like the man who literally does not shed a tear. Literally, it's crazy because I think he heard that song and knew what it was going to mean for me. And he just really loved the song too. But he got a tear in his eye and was just like, just kind of shaking his head. And
you can say he cried like a baby.
He didn't cry like a baby, because I don't think he is capable of crying like a baby. Hey, this is Nicolle Galyon. You're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Did you write Priscilla?
Yeah.
See, my husband is not a big country music fan, but when we got the platinum album, he kept playing that song over, and he was like, "Have you heard the song Priscilla?" And I'm like, "What are you listening to?" I didn't get to listen to the album yet. And he's like, "Oh, this Priscilla," and I'm like, "Dude, what in the world?" But he wore that song out.
I don't know. That song was all Natalie Hemby's idea. That was her concept. I remember what street I was on, out in Old Hickory, Tennessee, driving into town, and I got a phone call from her, and we were riding with Jimmy Robbins that day, and she's like, "Hey, listen." She always says, "Listen, I got an idea for today." And she said, and I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "I just want to run it by you before we got there to Jimmy's house." And I was like, when she told me it's going to be a song to Priscilla about how do you keep your man around, I was like, this is so perfect. But we did joke, we were like, it's Miranda or bust. Like,
yeah.
If she passes on it, like, it's just, the song is gone. Mm-hmm. And luckily she didn't.
No, it was great.
Yeah. Okay, well, you're sitting at home, you're watching, or I don't know, were you at the Grammys?
At the Grammys?
Yeah.
We went to the Grammys, yes.
So when they announced it, did you Kanye the stage, or did you do anything?
No.
But when you win for album, don't they give these poor songwriters anything?
No. We just get to feel the love
for all 5 cuts
and attachment to it. Well, what I remember about that Grammys was that Rodney was nominated for Song of the Year for American Kids.
Yep.
And we were nominated for Automatic, and so we were nominated against each other for Song of the Year, which was so special and so fun.
And who won that year?
Neither of us. Yeah. At the Grammys, neither of us won. But
do you remember who won?
Yeah, is the Glenn Campbell song.
Yes.
Oh.
And so I was already pregnant again by the time that this song was nominated. And so I was like out to here, and it was our baby moon. It was like 2 weeks before I couldn't fly anymore, and I was like huge and fat and pregnant, and we like walked the red carpet at the Grammys, and I just remember being like, this is the prime of life. Like, this is the stuff we're gonna remember. It really didn't matter if we won. I was just like, this is our life.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
I remember when I lost my Grammy
yeah.
to the Civil Wars, and I said,
yeah.
Are they a country act? I didn't know I could lose to an Americana act.
I know.
But it's so good because you and Rodney seem like a really just hearing him talk about you and then you talk about him, it's like it really
It's very
sounds
fake.
Like,
It's very
stop it. No,
it's very,
like just a good team where you build each other up and you support each other, but y'all kind of appreciate each other's strengths.
We're both inherently very independent, which I think is a big part of our attraction just as humans, is we both are kind of like, there's always a little bit of mystery, even in the small details of our day. Like, I don't know what he did today. It's fun to come home at the end of the night and be like, what'd you get into today? Like, what'd you do? And the same thing for him. And I think we both really crave that in each other. Mm-hmm. Like, we both want our space because we both are very driven and focused on ourselves, I guess. Probably pretty egocentric. But then also just really attracted to the fact that, like, we just want to be together, even though we are both so turned off to needy that we literally married the least needy human beings. I'm awesome. Like, you cool? You cool? Yeah, we're cool. Like, that's pretty much our marriage.
Well, I did talk to him and I said, well, man, you need to start writing with her. He goes, well, we don't really write a lot, but that's when he made the joke. She's kind of getting ahead of me.
She's too busy.
Yeah, she's too busy. I'm going to have to start writing with her.
Oh, man.
But I mean, you and Rodney and your stepson, Brad, all had hits at the same time on the charts?
That was crazy. And I mean, hopefully it'll happen again. I mean, I just joke that it's like, tag, you're it. Because it does kind of take, not that there's pressure, but it's just, it's really fun to have somebody else to cheer for and somebody else to be excited for, because I think that that's something that Nashville gets really right, but it also gets, not everybody gets it, is that it's just as fun to watch somebody else flourish and thrive and watch them move to town and not know anything and then all of a sudden figure it out. And that just is fulfilling for me to experience that with other people. But I think being married to somebody else that's technically my competition really made me that way, because it's just, so many years nothing happened for me that I was like, okay, what happens for you is your story, and what happens for me is my story, and they are not competing. Otherwise, our house would not work.
That's what he said, too. It was like you were very conscientious to not want to be, not necessarily tied to him or his name, but it's like, hey, I've got my own thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my own thing. And he was like, she just, ran with it.
Yeah, I think, and he also, I mean, I'll give him credit for this, too. Like, he I'll never forget that he said this. He was like, I don't want anybody to think that you need me.
He did say that, yeah.
And that's how well, I mean, he knows me. That's so me to know. Like, I think he was very wise in knowing, like, if I had written 500 songs but wrote one with him, and then that was the one that something happened with, like, for my first song, it would have kind of stolen a little bit of the experience for me.
But there's a proud thing too. Just,
Oh, he was very
look what my wife's
proud.
doing.
Oh, yeah.
And with that being said, I got a biggest song of the year so far, Tequila. I mean, Dan Shay, I mean, that thing is streaming like a pop hit, and it's nominated for Song of the Year at the CMAs this year. And
Single of the Year.
How did that kind of come about? Because that song, I'm not usually an over-the-top pop country fan, but man, that song kills me every time I hear it.
All I ever know is if I want to listen to it in my car or not after we write it. And I think sometimes we all get in our head a little bit too much about things. But if I look back in hindsight, we listened to the demo of that, which was ultimately a pretty much a piano vocal with Jordan Reynolds, our co-writer, singing it, who's an incredible singer. But me and Dan and Jordan, we all rode around and listened to that song for a year, and it never got old for us, just that piano vocal. So I think there's just a lesson, I think, in that. If we didn't get tired of it, maybe somebody else should, maybe there's a thing there. But Dan and Scott, took the production, for my taste, that track's perfect.
Yep.
I mean, everything about it is perfect to me, just for and I do love pop. I mean, I'm very, child of the 90s, where I'm I want it to sound very slick and all that. And
well, that one is a monster song this year.
With all that to say, what I didn't get to is that I had no idea. And we all said, we knew that it was really good, but I don't think we had any idea that it would, I thought this song's going to go number one, but I had no idea.
That it would resonate that much?
Yeah, I mean, it's this week, and it's in the it's moving up the teens on Hot AC right now, and it's like only been out there a few weeks.
And this new streaming world, you kind of get another taste of a chart. You know, it's kind of a in the air chart, you know, but it's what the kids are wanting to hear. It's what the people, the fans are wanting to play without a radio pushing it in their face. They're actually streaming it. They're actually, you know, clicking on it. And that's what's neat to see, how a lot of these new country guys are finding their way into those new charts. It's letting you know how relevant we are.
What's funny about it is I used to give Rodney so much crap about writing like songs like Drunk on You with like Honey on the Moneymaker and like all these booty lines and about getting drunk. And I was like, someday our kids like are gonna. And now literally just this week, our daughter, kindergarten, on the way home from school, she's like, why do people like tequila so much? What is tequila? Why do people? And I was like, well, it's like a grown-up lemonade. It's like, I didn't know. I was like and I was like, really, me? I'm the one that gets the brunt of these questions. You need to go talk to your dad. He's the one that writes all the drinking songs. This isn't even technically a drinking song, but all the remixes for tequila like have different covers. They have all these big, it's like, has like 10 remixes now. And my kids, they're like, we want to listen to the purple Keela. They call it Keela.
Oh, sure.
We want purple Keela. No, we want rainbow Keela. And like, we'll be out in public and they're like, I love purple tequila. I'm just like, okay.
It's good to do it to school. It's good to
My kid used to say water and it would come out like vodka. It's like, Mama, I want vodka. And I'm from Louisiana and we don't get to see my family often. And we went back and he was asking for water and they were like, did he just ask you for vodka? And I was like, no, you know, but it just, hey, coming from Louisiana, it wouldn't surprise me.
There's a little girl in our daughter's class named Kira. Well, last year she was in her preschool class named Kira. And our daughter Charlie thought that the song was Tequila. And so for like a year of listening to the demo, she thought she would sing Tequila.
Oh, sure.
And it was like, it was great. But now she knows that it's Keela, so...
Yeah.
Now we have some splaining to do.
Knox Country Podcast Edition.
Some of you know me as a record producer for acts like Jason Aldean and Thomas Rhett. Others know me as the son of rock and roll legend Buddy Knox, Party Doll fame back in 1957. I'm Michael Knox. Welcome to my world. You're listening to Knox Country
Podcast.
Hey, this is Keith Urban.
What's up, y'all? It's your boys here, Florida Georgia Line.
Hey, this is Little Big Town.
And you're listening to Knox Country.
You've entered Knox Country.
Welcome back to the Knox Country Podcast. How many number ones are you at right now?
I'm at 5.
And that's from just when? From 2014.
14.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
that's crazy. And then you got the Keith Urban Coming Home.
Yeah.
I love that song, but I mean, who'd you write that with? I don't know a lot about the backstory on that one.
That was such a unique experience. I don't think I've ever had a song written in the same way that one was. Keith had started a song with a producer-writer named J.R. Rodham in L.A., and they did that Merle sample and everything. They had all of that, and then and he pretty much had a lot of the chorus and the idea written, and then he actually had called Shane McAnally and said, hey, can you come help me today work on verses on this song? And Shane's like, no, man, I can't. I'm in the studio. And he's like, well, who do you recommend? And Shane told him to call me.
That's awesome.
So I owe Shane for that. So I went over and spent a day writing on the verses with him, and then we thought we kind of almost, we both, no joke, we both had to go pick our kids up from school. We were really close to, maybe, we were getting there. It's like, I gotta go. He's like, I do too. So we were gonna get back together, and then we never did. And then he went out to LA and pulled in Julia Michaels, and they worked on it, and this song was just written and rewritten and added to and all this stuff so many times. But the day that I left writing on it, I didn't even know that it ever got finished.
Yeah.
And then fast forward months down the road, Female, which I also wrote, was like on the charts, and it was, it was kind of at that point where it was looking like they were going to let go of it. And I was kind of grieving that. I was like, man, this isn't going as high as I wanted it to. And Rodney just said, yeah, but you got the next single. And I was like, no, I don't. I didn't get another cut on that record. And he's like, well, I wrote with somebody last week and they said that you have a next single. And I was like, well, what is it? And he said something about Home. And I said, that song got finished? I I never even knew that song was finished.
It's an 8-way now.
Surprise.
Yeah.
There's 8 writers on it now.
I mean, and it came out great, but I've just never had that experience, you know.
But what a crazy cut too. It's this odd little vibe, you know, like you said, with that lick and everything. I mean, it comes off the radio, man, you know, very strong.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just forever a Keith Urban fan. I mean, there's a few people, I don't know, sometimes these artists would appreciate me saying this because it would make them feel like their age or something, but there are like a handful of artists that I was legitimately a stand in line, get your autograph fan of. And those are the artists that, like, it really feels different to get a cut on somebody like that, because it feels like I'm two people at once. I feel like I'm like 16 but also 34 at the same time, and like getting to look back and all that is really, that's really special no matter what the song is with him.
Well, he's a genuine, like, he's the epitome of an artist. Like when you say artist, you know, and you say Keith Urban, you get what you're talking about, a guy who's out there with his guitar, loving every second. You know, I mean, every time you see him anywhere, man, he's giving 1,000%.
Yeah.
And he's the epitome of an artist. Doesn't matter what format you're talking about.
Yeah, I feel like you could see him play every show on his tour, and you would get a little bit of a different show every night, because he's such a natural performer. And I think he's just, you feel like when you're watching him that he's loving it so much, and he's on a ride all his own up there. So yeah, big Keith Urban fan.
Now, do you enjoy writing? Because you have Camila Cabello cut.
Yeah.
How did that
That's
happen?
a crazy story. So
because I mean, it's like I'm looking through your discography, and it's like, well, okay,
yeah, one of these things is not like the other.
yeah.
So I wrote that song with it was an afternoon, right? Like a double with Emily Weisband and Amy Wadge, who Amy is, she's from the UK. We're all Warner Chappell writers, and so they put us together, and I didn't know who she was. I knew she had worked with Ed Sheeran a little bit, but that was it. And we wrote this song called Consequences. We did a piano vocal of it, and then Amy went back to UK. We never really, and then Amy emailed us and said, hey, so I hope you guys don't mind. I played this song for Ed Sheeran, and he's freaking out about it. And she even went on to say, like, nobody knows this, but Camila is leaving Fifth Harmony. It hasn't been announced yet, but she's going to make a record, and he thinks it would be perfect for her. Is it okay? I hope you don't mind. He sent it to her. And I was like, well, sure, absolutely. So then I'm like Googling like members of Fifth Harmony, like what is happening? Yeah. But didn't, it was still so early on, but it took that was 2 years before the record even came out. So we just like sat there. And then when she got in and cut it, she went in and rewrote on the song too. So technically we co-wrote it with her, even though I've yet to meet her.
It's okay.
But they cut a bunch of different versions of the song apparently, and then by the time that it was all said and done, they just went back to use the piano from the demo, and it was a piano vocal. So yeah.
Well, that's wild.
That song went literally around the world. It went to UK, like to get to LA to get cut, which was really cool, which is like a very cool Nashville story for right now, because there's so many blurred lines.
So you are connected to Ed Sheeran?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, talk some more about what you're wanting to do. I mean, I know you want to get into production more, maybe, or is there things like that? Did you enjoy that situation?
The irony of the production thing is that I have always hated being in the studio. I'm the only, like most songwriters say, that's their favorite part of writing, is going in and demoing and hearing it come to life. And that's not like, for me, it's the idea. I love the moment of talking about the idea and all the different ways to write it. How would we do it? Where would we put this? How would we use the words? That's my favorite thing, is when the idea clicks. I mean, I could almost care less. Like, I just wish I could hand it over. Like, you're the best people in the world. You guys just go make this sound incredible. I kind of fell into the production thing more out of like my role as a producer with Raylan was more being like the conscience, I think, and the heartbeat behind her and who she was, and like at that time, because she was so young, and I was kind of just in the common denominator in a lot of the songs that they were really into, and I knew her so well that I think they were like, well, this just seems really natural because you're taking her in and cutting a lot of vocals on her, and that, I think I was like more, I really love like the A&R process of a record, and just kind of like really like planning out the brand of what all the music is going to be and the message and all that stuff. But if something happens organically, I will produce more things, but I'm not seeking it out really. It's been really special to get to step into that role, especially because I think what blew me away was realizing that like women don't do it. I didn't feel like I was doing anything different. It was just like, these, like, go recreate these demos basically that you're being a part of. But like just the support and how excited people were about the fact that me being a woman and doing that excited me. And if, you know, if there's more opportunities to do that, if nothing else, just to maybe let younger writers consider, oh, I could do that too, because I never considered being a producer, and I still even don't really think of myself as one. But I think what we underestimate, like, it's very much like a woman to be like, well, I'm not qualified. But yeah, you are. Like, you're doing it, you know?
Well, but also, the best producers are people that find that project that's an extension of who they are. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and if you keep looking for those things, I bet it will make sense every time. Yeah. You know, but Nashville has a way of throwing a lot of stuff your way. Mm-hmm. That might not be that extension, you know, so you get caught up in something else. But, you know, what I heard was great.
Oh,
so,
thanks.
Did you write Love Triangle?
I did.
Love that song. I love that song.
Thank you.
Is it fiction? Love Triangle?
It's kind of personal. No.
Yeah. No, I've not lived that song, but yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Shalacy. Check us out on the web at knoxcountry360.com or on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at knoxcountry360.
Everything with Ray like really happened organically for me. I didn't seek it out, and so I'm very much like just invite those things to come into my life in the future. But I'm not like actively going like, what do I want to produce next? I'm more just like put my head down and write, because it is such a grind. No matter what level you're at.
Well, it kind of sounds like everything that you've had success with and have been happy with, you've just sort of let it just happen. You know, you've tried other things more to, you know, X them out. I don't want to do this. This is, I don't like this. And then it kind of, you know, happens naturally instead of you forcing, you know, or chasing something. Yeah,
I mean, because your plan changed. And that's when things got successful. Mm-hmm. You know, because it's like when you were trying, something happened where you were missing the mark a little bit, but then the voice did something where it rebooted your brain or made you say, man, forget that. Whatever that emotion is, forget that. And then so whatever happened after that is, you know, a big thankful dream, I think. I mean, because it's made you one of the most successful just songwriters, period. I mean, especially the past couple of years.
I think people really underestimate the ability to step back for a second. Yeah. You know, there's definitely some people that need to press in harder and be more consistent and show up more, but that's what is healthy for me, and a good balance for me is to step back occasionally. And we take a month off in the summer now, and we go to my hometown in Kansas and just let the kids run around in a small town, and we built a little house there. And I think that is actually like a big investment on our careers, just for us to step away. And because when we come back, the songs are better. We have a newfound appreciation for what we get to do for a living, and so I think the voice, like stepping away and trying something else, taught me that like it's okay to have another thing on the side just to give you a breather from this, like, it feels like an assembly line sometimes. You're just like idea, hook, demo, pitch, idea, hook, you know, and like
when sometimes some of the songs like that get released sort of sound like that. Yeah. It's just, there's nothing different. It's sort of...
And some songwriters are great at that.
Yeah.
And some it's a different motivation, you know. Mm-hmm. But you talked earlier about the track generation, and then, you know, and then the singer-songwriters. Do you like the track guys? Do you like them kind of in the room, or do you feel you like instrument better?
I probably prefer a track. I also think I didn't mention this, but, you know, like the first 3, 4, 5 years I had a publishing deal, I wrote on a piano. I was like kind of like a country Sarah Bareilles singer-songwriter-esque writer. I would sit on a piano and write songs every day. And I think when I started, like when I met Jimmy Robbins, for instance, I remember writing with him and not having to do the music at all, and going, oh wow, I'm so much better at this when I'm not doing this. And when I say this, I mean I'm so much better at idea and lyric and concept when I'm not having to do the music. And I realized that maybe I was, and I mean, when I stepped away I probably only write one song on piano a year now. And when I started writing with people like Jimmy, everything started to work for me. I mean, that all happened around that same time. So I think that was a big part of my evolution and me just learning what's going to work for me. I just think there's so many talented musicians here. I had this aha moment of why would you ever play an instrument? Because there's usually more of a demand for words and ideas than there are, not to downplay the importance of music and chords and musicians, but it's a lot harder to find a great idea than it is to find 4 chords.
Or to find a second verse.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were joking about that at another time where, I get so many songs pitched to me, because I'm not a writer-producer. So the majority of what I do, I go find. And it's always the second verse that loses you. And you're like, I wish they would have just thought about this a little more, and I'm not the writer to go fix it,
Or maybe you take what you thought was the first verse and make second and then back up and make the first one match, lead into the second one just to brace. Because that's something that they do a lot in pop that I've learned just going out and writing with some of these pop. They're like, when you think you've written a chorus, make it the verse and then make the chorus even better than the verse, just in terms of how hooky things are. And that's something that we don't push ourselves hard enough at in Nashville, is just overall the hookiness of everything. Yeah. But we could do that with words if we, Yeah.
And the cool thing about our format is we're the most diverse format right now. I mean, we got everything here.
Yeah.
And all it is the lifestyle of the artists that make us country, I guess. But our songs, I mean, like you said, you can look at Automatic, Tequila, Coming Home, and We Were Us, and that's 4 different kinds of songs.
Yeah.
And that's what makes Nashville so cool. I love your direction of how you write.
Oh, thank you.
And because we need that thought process.
Thanks. I just love words in general. I think that's kind of like my calling in life, even whether it's songwriting or even beyond. I'm the communicator in all my friend groups and my family. I'm the one that makes sure that what needs to be said is said.
Do you have any siblings?
I have 3 younger brothers.
You're the oldest there.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. And so that's really my passion, is making sure that if there's a story to be told or something that needs to be addressed, let's just put it out there. And so I know that this is definitely what I should be doing.
So you didn't go after Rodney with some of those Luke cuts and go, man, you should have thought about that lyric just a little bit more.
No, because I'm still the ultimate fan. I am not as much, I love trying to find more creative words, but I'm kind of like a pop whore, when it comes to listening to just whatever on the radio. I love the just down the middle, can I go around on a treadmill to this? I am not a snob when it comes to music. I really am not when I'm consuming music. I am a little bit when I'm writing, because I just need to keep myself excited, when you do it every day. But I love all that. Rodney has that Down to the Honky Tonk song out right now. Yeah. It's I listen to it every day on my way to write. Just because, and it's not rocket science, but it makes me so happy, you know, and I like it all,
But what makes the best songwriters are being fans of what you're writing for. And we've noticed that in all these interviews, man, is everybody's pretty successful, but they're all so excited when they talk about what they're doing. And, and you don't get that sometimes in other areas.
Yeah. I will say there's a younger generation, what I've noticed, because I'm right in the middle right now. I'm 34, so I write with a lot of older, but I also write with a lot of 20-year-olds. And I feel like there's a lot of younger people that didn't really grow up on country. And that's something that's interesting for me right now that I'm noticing is wait, you don't know who such and such is? And I'm not even that old. And it's not because they're too young. It's because they're writing country music but they didn't grow up listening to country music.
Yeah.
And I think that it's cool because it brings new melodies and it brings new musical ideas. But it's just like a good example of how we all kind of need each other, you know?
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you can float in the middle, too.
Yeah.
I'm sure that helps you and keeps you creative because you can touch on that countryside, but then...
As long as I can, I'm creeping up to be the old lady, the old creepy lady coming in to write with all the young guys. Like, who let her in here?
Well, I was driving home the other night and had my 18-year-old and her friend in the car, and we're listening to music, having a good time. And she goes, "Mr. Knox, did you know that this such and such rapper passed away this week?" And it was, I can't remember who
Mac
it was.
Miller.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mac Miller. And I said, yeah. I said, I didn't know a lot of his songs, but we were just so consumed with Burt Reynolds, passing away. And she goes, "Who?" And I said, "Burt Reynolds, the Bandit. I don't know him. What does he sing?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's all going downhill even further."
Yeah.
So that's where we are.
Yeah.
That's right where we are. Mm-hmm. It's just that new generation.
Mm-hmm.
But I love that. I mean, I'm a little bit older than you, but I love the fact that I can listen to some old Patti Loveless and appreciate it, and then on the way up here I can listen to like Baby Got Back or something.
Yeah.
And it's okay. Mm-hmm. And you can meet in the middle and you cover everything.
Yeah. I love it all. I really do. All I really care about is the Dixie Chicks. Even to this day, I'm just like, I'm really just buying my time until I can get a Dixie Chicks cut. Like, whatever. I mean, just keep my career alive long enough to get that to happen.
Get the band back together.
They're actually, I think, they announced they're writing again.
I got an odd feeling that somebody that might can call to
I
get
have
a song or something their way.
I have a feeling they're not going to make the record in Nashville, so I don't know.
It doesn't matter. You can still hook up. You can still go do the right.
That's my dream.
You tell
That's
Ben,
the
just say,
ultimate.
"Ben, your old boss said you need to make a call."
Yeah. Boss Knox. You call Knox. Knox said.
Do it, Ted
Yeah.
Gummit. But that's awesome, man. Well, I love you being here, man, and I
Thanks.
appreciate you coming.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this and shining a little light on the bottom of the food chain.
No.
Songwriters.
Well, this whole show is really just about y'all getting me songs for my act that I'm trying to cut.
Okay.
'Cause
And who is that again? What's his name?
I don't even know his name anymore. I don't even know. He doesn't invite me to the shows. I don't know.
Yeah, I bet.
But cool. Thank you for being here, Nicolle.
Thank you.
This is awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Knox Country.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Knox Country Podcast. Special thanks go out to co-host Miss Shalacey Griffin and producer Donnie Walker. See you next time.
You've entered Knox Country Outtakes.
Okay, now we need to start over and do it all again.
We need Rodney comps.
What was so funny for his interview, he was kind of like he was chill until he started talking about that fishing. It's like
geez.
professional.
Oh, and then he woke up.
He goes from
Yes.
like that. It's
We were like,
wow.
So are you a pro fisher? No, not really.
No, I actually
But do you
joked
have
with
4
him.
hours? Because I'll tell you about it.
I said he was on a boating team, and he goes, "Boating? I fish."
Yeah.
It may not even really be worth talking about because I don't know. I think it's just a title. I don't.
We sure as hell can't
Okay.
use this feedback.
Well, what's
Off the record, I don't know that it means anything.
how was that when you called and said, "I need 1,800 cops"?
No, I.
Nicolle.
Nicolle,
Well,
Italian
dang.
stallion.
There you go. And you did talk
Galyon.
more than Rodney.
What was
You
that?
did talk more than Rodney. It was all.
Well,
all
we
good,
were
though.
actually a lot more interested in your conversation. When Rodney was entering the 38 minutes of his boating trip.
Do it again. Oh, okay.
Knox Country Podcast Edition.